The young and the restless spoilers in the hidden corridors of Genoa's glittering facade, a dark web of secrets began to unravel, casting a shadow over the lives of those who believed they were masters of their own fate. At the heart of this emerging storm was a revelation that would shatter the delicate balance of power, a revelation concerning the relationship between Damian and Martin. For years, whispers and half-truths had surrounded the enigmatic figure of Damian. His confident demeanor, his occasional guarded glances, and the peculiar way he referred to Martin had always raised questions among the observant few. Now, those questions were coming dangerously close to an answer. It wasn't just any ordinary family drama, it was a secret so explosive that it threatened to engulf everyone involved. Lily, ever the inquisitive spirit with a relentless drive for uncovering the truth, had sensed that something was amiss. The murmurs in the wind, the hushed conversations behind closed doors, and the conspiratorial glances exchanged among the key players all pointed to a single, unsettling fact. Genoa was harboring secrets that were not only dangerous but deadly in their potential fallout. One fateful evening, as shadows lengthened and the city's lights flickered against the backdrop of encroaching dusk, Lily found herself in a place where she wasn't meant to be. While wandering near a secluded section of the estate, she inadvertently became a silent witness to a moment that would forever alter the course of events. There, in a dimly lit corridor, she overheard a conversation that left her heart pounding and her mind racing. Damian, whose words were usually measured and composed, referred to Martin not merely as an associate or a friend, but as Dad. The shock of that singular moment was compounded by the unsettling question that immediately followed in Lily's mind: who, then, was Damian's mother? The answer, as fate would have it, was as incriminating as it was unexpected. Through bits of whispered dialogue and furtive glances, Lily deduced that Amy was the missing piece of this ominous puzzle. It was Amy who, in secret and with a resolute air of determination, played a role in bridging the gap between past and present, forging a connection that defied the norms of family and loyalty. But the revelations didn't stop there. In another clandestine instance, Lily found herself even closer to the very heart of the mystery. Hidden behind an ornate door, she witnessed an emotional embrace, a tight, almost desperate, grouping of arms. There, Amy, Damian, and Martin were wrapped in a silent communion, an unspoken pact of solidarity and secrecy. The intensity of that moment made it clear: the trio was bound by a secret so profound that they would stop at nothing to protect it. Their unity was a double-edged sword, holding together both the promise of a future and the threat of impending disaster. Martin, whose strategic mind had always been an enigma to many, harbored a plan that was as bold as it was perilous. He envisioned a clean break, a mass exodus from Genoa once their meticulously crafted scheme reached its climax. The plan was simple in its audacity: leave behind a city that had become a playground of deceit, corruption, and power struggles, and start anew elsewhere, free from the burdens of their secrets. However, this plan was contingent on one critical factor: absolute secrecy. For Martin and his cohorts, the preservation of their hidden truths was non-negotiable. Lily, with her unwavering commitment to transparency and justice, saw the looming threat for what it was. In her eyes, the public had a right to know the dark underbelly of Genoa, to be alerted to the insidious manipulations that had been allowed to flourish unchecked. In her fervor, she vowed that the secret of Damian's lineage, the fact that he called Martin Dad and that Amy was his mother, would not be buried in silence. She believed that by exposing the truth, she could unmask the treachery and safeguard the future of those unsuspecting souls caught in the crossfire. Yet, in the midst of her determination, a chilling realization gripped her: the consequences of her potential revelation could be catastrophic. In the ruthless world of Genoa's power players, there was no room for dissent or betrayal. If Damian were to discover that Lily had listened in on their clandestine conversation, the repercussions would be immediate and merciless. The trio's reputation for ruthless retribution was legendary. No enemy, no matter how seemingly insignificant, had ever escaped their wrath. In their eyes, survival was reserved only for those who played by the rules of absolute loyalty and secrecy. And for Lily, the risk of being marked as a traitor was not one she was willing to take lightly. As Lily's inner turmoil grew, so did her resolve. She weighed the moral imperative of unveiling the truth against the palpable danger that such an act entailed. Every fiber of her being screamed for justice, yet she was acutely aware of the precarious balance between right and survival. The thought of Damian's cold, unyielding gaze, or worse, the orchestrated wrath of Martin and Amy, sent shivers down her spine. The stakes were astronomical. One misstep, one moment of hesitation, and her life could be forfeit in a heartbeat. In the intricate tapestry of Genoa's underworld, secrets were the currency of power. Every whisper, every furtive glance, every hidden conversation added another layer to an already complex narrative. The dynamics between Damian, Martin, and Amy were emblematic of a deeper struggle, a battle not just for control, but for the very essence of identity and legacy. Their secret was more than a mere family drama. It was a symbol of the lengths to which people would go to protect their legacies, to shield themselves from the judgment and chaos of the outside world. Martin's vision of a new beginning, free from the labyrinth of deceit in Genoa, was both an escape and a statement. It was an assertion that sometimes, the most audacious act of defiance is to break away entirely from a system that thrives on manipulation. However, the success of that plan hinged on their ability to maintain a veil of silence. For every minute detail exposed, for every hint of betrayal, the intricate web of trust they had so painstakingly built would begin to fray. And Lily, with her burning need for truth, was the one threat that loomed larger than any enemy they had ever faced. In the end, Genoa was on the cusp of an upheaval, a reckoning that would force every resident, every conspirator, and every bystander to confront the harsh reality that the city's pristine veneer was nothing more than a facade. Lily's determination to expose the truth was a spark that could ignite a revolution of transparency and accountability, but it also risked inciting the wrath of those who believed that some secrets were worth dying for. As the tension in the air grew thicker, a palpable question remained. Would Lily's revelation serve as a catalyst for much-needed change, or would it unleash a wave of ruthless retribution that left no survivors in its wake? In a world where loyalty was tested by blood and betrayal was a way of life, the answer was uncertain. One thing was clear, however: when secrets as dangerous as these came to light, Genoa would never be the same again. This unfolding drama, with its intertwining lives and deadly stakes, serves as a stark reminder that in the realm of power and betrayal, truth can be both a weapon and a curse. With every secret revealed, the line between friend and foe blurs, and in Genoa, no one can afford to be deceived. In the labyrinthine corridors of Genoa, a city where power, wealth, and betrayal intertwine, a dark family secret began to unravel, threatening to expose the very heart of the underworld's deception. The revelation was as explosive as it was damning. Damian, the enigmatic figure shrouded in mystery, was not the illegitimate child he pretended to be. Instead, he was the son of two of Genoa's most notorious figures, Amy and Martin, a union that, once revealed, would redefine the balance of power in this perilous world. For years, whispers had circled around Damian's true identity, but the truth had always been buried beneath layers of lies, deceit, and carefully constructed facades. Now, with the truth emerging like a venomous serpent from its lair, it was clear that Amy and Martin were not merely flawed individuals fighting for survival. They were monsters in their own right, driven by an insatiable hunger for control. Their monstrous nature was laid bare by the scandalous revelation, and the message was unequivocal: they needed to be eliminated for the greater good of those oppressed by their cruelty. Lily, whose relentless pursuit of the truth had already exposed numerous deceptions in Genoa, found herself at a crossroads. The shocking discovery about Damian's lineage was just the tip of the iceberg. In her quest for transparency, she began to notice the broader implications of the familial treachery. Genoa was not only a haven for the duplicitous but also a breeding ground for further corruption. Hidden beneath its polished exterior lay a multitude of dangerous secrets and crazy schemes waiting to be exposed and eradicated. Yet, the personal stakes in this unfolding drama were about to intensify. Tracy, a woman whose heart had been battered by loss and betrayal, was plunged into unimaginable despair upon learning of Alan's tragic death. Alan, who had once shown her a glimmer of hope by proposing to her, was not only gone, but the man who had courted her affection turned out to be none other than Martin, the very man responsible for so many of the atrocities plaguing Genoa. Worse still, Martin was implicated in heinous acts of abduction, leaving Tracy drowning in a sea of grief and fury. As Tracy wept inconsolably, her tears marking the beginning of a bitter resolve, the path forward became painfully clear. Her heart, once tender and vulnerable, now burned with an unquenchable desire for revenge. For her, the killing of Martin was not merely an act of justice, it was an act of personal retribution, a promise to avenge Alan's memory and the love that had been so brutally snatched away. Every beat of her heart echoed with the determination that Martin's reign of terror would end, and that he would ultimately face the finality of death at her hands. But the storm of retribution did not stop with Tracy. Her alliance with Jack, a stalwart protector of the Abbott family, signified a new era of resistance. Together, they vowed to defend the sanctity of both the Abbott and the Jabot families, two pillars of a community that had long suffered under the weight of malicious ambitions and treacherous secrets. In their eyes, Genoa was a city that deserved better. No one, they declared, would be allowed to harm the integrity and legacy of the Jabot family, nor would any member of their circle be left vulnerable to the sinister plots hatched by their enemies. Amid this chaotic backdrop of revenge and political maneuvering, Damian's deceptions began to crumble. The carefully constructed facade he had maintained for years was at risk of being torn asunder. While he had pretended to be Nate's brother, a guise intended to secure a coveted position of influence, there was no denying the truth. Damian was not who he claimed to be. His relentless pursuit of an identity that was never truly his was nothing more than a desperate attempt to usurp a role that did not belong to him. The world of Genoa, already steeped in duplicity, was not forgiving to pretenders. And as the truth of his origins spread like wildfire, the inevitable reckoning drew closer. In a city where loyalty was traded like currency and trust was a commodity in short supply, the stakes had never been higher. Martin's vision of a fresh start, a daring escape from the tangled web of lies, was inextricably linked to the absolute secrecy that had defined his past. His plan, a bold yet perilous exodus from Genoa once their scheme reached its culmination, was built on the fragile foundation of deception. Yet, as the truth began to claw its way into the light, that foundation threatened to crumble beneath the weight of its own duplicity. Tracy, now fueled by grief and a resolve that bordered on the unyielding, became the harbinger of retribution. Her transformation was profound, from a victim of betrayal to an avenger determined to dismantle the corrupt empire that Martin and Amy had built. Every action she took was laden with the promise of vengeance, a promise that would soon echo throughout the dark alleys and grand mansions of Genoa. With Jack by her side, they were prepared to stand as a bulwark against any force that sought to harm the families they had sworn to protect. Meanwhile, the sinister alliance of Amy and Martin found themselves increasingly isolated. Their monstrous legacy was a stark reminder of the depths to which power could corrupt. The truth about Damian's paternity, once concealed in a shroud of lies, now threatened to bring their entire empire crashing down. As secrets spilled forth like a torrential downpour, the walls of their carefully maintained power began to crack. The city's inhabitants, long subjected to manipulation and fear, started to awaken to the reality of the betrayal that had been woven into the fabric of their lives. In this crucible of revelations and retribution, every character was forced to confront the brutal consequences of their actions. Martin's calculated cruelty and Amy's complicity in the grand scheme of manipulation were laid bare for all to see. Their attempts to secure a legacy of power had instead become their greatest undoing. The streets of Genoa, once echoing with the silent machinations of secret societies and clandestine meetings, were now alive with the roar of impending justice. And so, as Genoa braced itself for the tumultuous fallout of these dark revelations, one question loomed large: would the city be purged of its corrupt elements, or would the cycle of betrayal and bloodshed continue unabated? For Tracy, the answer was clear: Martin would face the ultimate consequence for his actions, and in doing so, she would honor the memory of Alan and countless others who had suffered at the hands of these monsters. With her unwavering resolve, she prepared to unleash a tempest of retribution that promised to shake the very foundations of Genoa. The stage was set for an epic showdown, where loyalty, honor, and the thirst for vengeance collided in a dramatic symphony of chaos and retribution. In a world where every secret had the potential to become a weapon, the fight for truth was as dangerous as it was inevitable. With allies rallying under the banner of justice and enemies poised on the brink of downfall, Genoa was about to witness a reckoning that would redefine the very essence of power, identity, and the unyielding quest for redemption. As the night fell and the city's neon lights flickered against the darkness, every heart beat with the anticipation of what was to come. The truth, once hidden in the shadows, was now a force unstoppable. And in the chaos that followed, it was clear that no one would be spared from the consequences of deceit. The battle lines had been drawn, and Genoa's future hung in the balance. In this final act of retribution, justice would be served, and the monstrous legacy of Amy, Martin, and their duplicitous offspring would finally meet its end. This epic narrative intertwines family secrets, betrayal, and a relentless pursuit of justice, capturing the high stakes and intricate relationships that define the world of Genoa. Each character, driven by pain and ambition, must navigate a treacherous landscape where trust is a luxury and every revelation carries the weight of irrevocable consequences.